My grandpa was a quiet guy. He loved his family more than anything. And he was very, very observant. The wedding reception was in full swing. Everyone is drinking and dancing and having a great time. One of my dad's friends drunkenly decides to play a prank. He gets two more of dad's buddies to help. Grandpa notices them sneaking out and watches. Now mom had a kick-ass car. It was a blue Camaro with a Landau top, and was either a 69, 70, or 71. Mom doesn't remember. This friend of dad's also had a Camaro of the same year. Anyway, the trio go out to mom's car, pop the hood, and take apart. I think it was spark plugs, but whatever they took, it meant the car wouldn't start, leaving my parents kinda stranded. Grandpa saw this, waited till the drunk guys went back in, then took the same part from drunk guy's car, and put it in mom's. He then took drunk guy's tools and flashlight, and hid them in the coat closet. Soon it's real dark, so the newlyweds leave for their hotel room. Drunk guy and his friends are even drunker, and discover their car won't start. They pop the hood and see the missing part, and start looking for the tools and flashlight. Grandpa walks over and says, "Your tools and light are in the coat closet. I hope your car is comfy, because the building won't be unlocked until morning." Of course Grandpa tells Grandma, they laugh, and Grandma tells Mom and Dad. My grandpa was the best. My dean, let's call him Gary. Well anyway, Gary loved to just throw your past in your face when you get in trouble for something as minor as a dress code violation. Now on to the main story. One day I stopped by after school in his office and talked about graduation since I just barely made the cut. Well, he tells me I can't graduate since I got in trouble, and apparently under his rules I was not to be in trouble. It was a dress code violation. Wrong polo color. So I was very upset but kept my cool and had explained the situation and why I couldn't wear the right polo. He didn't believe me and told me to get out of his office before I get a detention. I thought this was stupid, and all the caro he talked to my mom about graduation and what I should wear and all was just one big lie. The ProRevenge part is here. So about 3 weeks after the initial conversation, I walk up near my maths teacher's classroom and I look through the little glass panel on the side of the door to see my math teacher Jessica kissing my principal, who is married. I was in absolute shock and couldn't believe my eyes. I felt like I had to go, but instead a revenge plan was born. Every day after school I recorded and took pictures of the affair until I had about 30 minutes of video and 12 to 30 photos of their kissing/groping etc. Did I mention I was in Drak and had a presentation about a month later? Haha, a month later I planned it all out and it involved 15 kids and me who controlled our presentation. LOL, revenge was mine. So the day of the presentation I put up my presentation of every single photo of his affair and managed to hide it until him and his wife arrived and sat down. Including every faculty member except the science teachers. Even his mistress was down a few tables. So when the presentation started I popped the first picture on the screen with the date. The horror on his daughter's face was amazing. Sounds horrible, but I loved seeing him in pain, and he just got up and left. His wife cried and his mistress ran out and cried hysterically like a baby. I sat there and cycled through more and more of the affair presentation until I was forced to shut it off. 2 weeks I get a call that I'm being suspended for 5 days due to me ruining the Drak day, and accepted the punishment. He resigned and his wife filed for divorce. His mistress is on administrative leave but will soon resign. Had a situation a few years back with an annoying upstairs neighbor. I lived in the ground floor flat of a detached house in Cornwall, and the upstairs flat would always throw a party on a Sunday night. From 10:30 when the local pub kicked out till 4 a.m. or until everyone passed out. Tried to be nice and asked them just to turn it down a bit at midnight, despite having work at 7 a.m. on the Monday. Got a fuck off ya knob for my trouble, and of course they turned it up and heard a loud chorus of cunt 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 afterwards. Charmers. So, I'm an audio engineer by trade now, but at the time I was working as a glazier and playing a lot in bands. So that Sunday I used my decibel meter to work out exactly how loud it all was. The next morning, I got my mate Dave at work to fabricate up a speaker stand that would hold my PA speaker's cone up to the ceiling, rigged up a decibel sensor to trigger playback on an MP3 player after 3 continuous minutes of overage. The MP3 player had a loop of Chumbawamba Tub Thumping's chorus on it that would run for 20 minutes then reset. Cue next Sunday, I set it up at 7 p.m., turned off all the lights, locked up and headed to Dave's to sleep for the night. I returned Monday evening and found Wanker sprayed on the door, but the parties stopped after 2 more weeks of tub thumping. Apparently, they eventually called the police, pretended they weren't being disruptive, just having a few friends staying over for a quiet gaming session. But when the police came round, they showed them that the way to set it off was to make a sustained amount of loud noise. A friend who knew someone at the party said the police just said matter-of-factly, "Well, don't make loud noise then," and left. I think seeing Wanker still sprayed on the front door downstairs helped out there too. This isn't my story. It happened to my ex-classmate's dad, but it's too sweet of a story to not share. His dad is a pretty wealthy guy and owns his own construction business. My classmate always showed up in fancy clothes and cars. One day, Dad walks into a car dealership. He was interested in buying a Mercedes G-Wagon. He went inside and was ignored for almost an hour while other cuts were treated. Eventually a couple of salesmen approached Dad and asked him what he's doing here. Sad starts asking about the cars. The salesmen were very dismissive and sarcastic in response to him. It's clear they aren't taking him seriously and begin to leave. Dad becomes irritated and asks what their problem was. They argue for a minute when the manager comes and tells Dad to leave. Dad had just come from work and was wearing slightly dirty jeans, boots, and a t-shirt. He's also a dark-skinned individual. Both of these factors probably made him look lower class in their eyes. Little did they know. A few weeks later Dad ends up purchasing the car at another dealership. He negotiated free car washes for life as he traded in one of his luxury cars. Apparently he was able to go to other dealerships in the area who authorized the same thing regarding car washes. Dad ends up going to first dealership and throws the keys on the front counter. He demanded a car wash. The same manager eventually came by to object, but Dad showed him all the paperwork. He looked a bit shocked and begrudgingly got the process started. Dad has been going back almost every day for car washes. He always cheekily smiles at all the staff members with a shit-eating grin as a greeting, especially the 2 salesmen. They now just hang their head in shame and walk away whenever they see him. I was renting a condo from a guy who at first didn't seem too bad. I am in the military and he was flexible on when I could move in and hours he would show me the place. I was there for about a year and had to break the contract early due to new orders in the military sending me out of the city I was in, which in the US is mandatory for all landlord/rental agency. I moved out of the place over a month ago now, and as we agreed upon he would deduct a cleaning service and the last month's electric bill, so I get about $135 less from my security deposit, no problem, end of story. But this morning I get a text message from him saying he needs $45 more for last month's bills. I'm at work, so I see and quickly respond that we agreed to the $135 and I'm not just going to give him more. I'm busy at work, mind you, and he gets back to me with screenshots of the invoice for the bills and requests the money on Venmo. About 10 minutes of me not responding because I'm busy, he proceeds to send several text messages saying fine be that way and I should have kept the security deposit UGI blah blah blah. The one text that actually got under my skin was, I can't wait until companies look your rental history up, I'm going to strike you for non-payment of last month's rent, that's going on your credit report. All these texts came in under an hour after my first response. Well, once I finally checked my phone I surprised and quickly upset, I'm not a liar and have always paid my debts. So I take my lunch break to send screenshots to the condominium board/property agency to report him for harassment. And the woman who was working is amazing. She was disgusted with his attitude and we talk about my stay at the residence. I mentioned the floors were warped and in the kitchen was pretty bad in particular. So this is her idea really, but she then emails me the city laws on landlord-tenant relations and building code. So far I have filed 2 different complaints with the city, one on him as a landlord, and human being, and being I'm already out of the area, don't know if it'll go anywhere. That second report is now going to a city inspector to survey the condo on keeping up proper flooring, which to be honest I should have reported to someone while I was there, but I'm a busy/easygoing guy who didn't want to take the time to start a formal inquiry and have to possibly move out for repairs. He in all likelihood will have to replace a good amount of floor space and spend way more money. If someone owes you $45, at least give them a little while to get you the money. It may save you more than just what's owed. Dad is an electrician but has a logistics company. Basically, he and his crew unloads things from ships. He doesn't give a damn about clothing, all he likes to buy like it's coffee in the morning is tools. No matter what's the tool for, he just need it. Anyways, I convinced him to buy a new car because he has earned it blah blah blah. He always wanted a Jeep because he likes to go on an adventure. He's from the country, but never learned how to drive properly. We went to our nearest dealership and were told to leave as they didn't want people like us. We just were a little dirty from work, didn't even got dirty boots. We just drove to the nearest gas station, mad as hell. Occasionally, there was an old pal of my dad. Long story short, he was the son of the original owner of that Jeep dealership, but my dad didn't say anything about what happened. They just talked about electricity stuff and old times and I was just eating. He invited my dad to his dealership and promised a nice discount if he could accept his son in our job, as my dad has connections inside the port. I was alright with that, but it was kinda bittersweet for my dad. Next week arrived and he invited us to check on a Rubicon he had. Turns out, we were a little too early and he wasn't there yet. Same story, we got there, a dude told us to literally F***ck off and another lady warned us with the police. If my dad was mad last time, he almost had a stroke this time. But we waited and waited until we saw this friend pull over to the dealership, and we did the same thing we tried last time, enter the freaking dealership. This time it was kinda worse, that salesman was angry and that lady started yelling, but we had an angel waving at my dad from the back, and as he came closer, he noticed the show. That salesman told him that we wasted their time and didn't even look like we had the money to rent a car. The lady told him that we tried to get inside the cars. I've never seen a person go from white to red so quickly. The owner just yelled that we were friends of the family and that nobody deserves to be threatened like we did. He also said that we could have easily bought every car they had, which is not true, but I take it as a compliment. The salesman was in pure shock, he looked like his soul just left his body. And that lady was in tears, shaking, and couldn't move. My dad's friend fired the salesman on the spot, and guaranteed that his career as a salesman of any kind ended. The lady resulted to be his daughter, and apologized to us and promised to give us extras on any car we bought, but later in a dinner, her mom explained that she was being abused by her partner, hence the reaction and her attitude. I'm glad she changed for good and everything went well for her. After all that, we came back the next day as this friend was too ashamed of what happened, didn't feel well and had to close for the day. We got the Rubicon with a couple extras and a pretty good discount. He told us that he couldn't sleep that night and all he did was call his friends to warn them about this now unemployed salesman, and after that, he contacted the Ministerio de Trabajo, the entity that manages all work-related things, government stuff, Ecuador, and issued a letter about what happened. He just needed my dad's side of the story. My dad felt like he pulled the trigger on somebody's head when whoever took his explanation of the story, told him all the repercussions of what happened will affect the salesman. She told him that he probably will be unemployed for a while and if he ever tries to ask for a work vice, he's gonna be double-checked, and that my dad is free of pressing charges. He decided to not. It was enough. As for their friendship, they keep in touch occasionally.